Shamans work with spirits in order to increase this spiritual vitality.
Oh, you're chosen, the Spirit has chosen you.
Do they perform miracles? Hope for the best.
Probability.
Because they get results, not because they just want to believe something, because it's convenient. We're all going to leave this world anyway.
My name is Simba. I'm here today with Kevin Turner, my shamanic teacher. It's not just mine, you're a shamanic teacher for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I'm so happy to have you here to talk a little bit about shamanism, a little bit what is it, and maybe from a different angle than a lot of people think, right? Because there's a lot of theories about what is shamanism,
There's
how
a
does
lot
it
of
work.
misunderstandings about shamanism, but essentially, shamanism is the earliest expression of human spirituality. It goes back as far as human beings do. Mm-hmm. There's even some evidence that Neanderthals had shamanism, and we don't know for sure. But shamanism goes back tens of thousands of years, and people continue to practice it not because it is a belief system, but rather because it works. People need healing. People need divination, need information about how to survive. So shamans have been helping their tribal groups to survive for tens of thousands of years. In Australia, they're talking about 90,000 years. Mm-hmm. And that's unbroken for 90,000 years. So that would make any modern religion seem like a newborn baby. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with religion. It's just that we're talking about shamanism today. And shamanism is operational spirituality in objective spiritual realities. People go to shamans because they get results, not because they just want to believe something, because it's convenient. So if clients are getting better, if divinations are accurate, divinations mean getting information that is not available by normal means, then if the information is good, if the clients are getting better, people will continue to return to the shaman. Mm. So religion is born when the last shaman dies, because then people only have the stories of the miracles of the shamans of old, or the prophets, or the saints, or the sages of old. They were doing the miracles. They were living the spirituality. And if that lineage is broken, or if shamanism dies, then people have only stories. And eventually the stories are written down. And then people decide, well, we ought to collect all these stories into a book. Well, as most people couldn't read or write, then all of a sudden we have to have a priesthood to interpret the book for everybody else. And now we need to build a monastery to hold the priesthood. And now we need to build a church or a temple around the book and the monastery. And maybe we better choose somebody who's the one designated person who's knowledgeable about the book, about the shamans who lived long ago. And suddenly you have a religion. Mm. And it's not that it's wrong, it's simply old stories. As opposed to the shamans who are in the jungles or in the Arctic who are doing the miracles today and are still doing them today. Mm. So that is why it doesn't matter where you go, that you could go to the smallest island, the most isolated place in the north, in the south, in the east, in the west, you will find shamanism rising again and again and again because it is innate, intrinsic, natural human spirituality, because it works. Mm. Now, anthropologists made a mistake in believing that shamanism was a religion that started somewhere in Central Asia and then was spread out by horsemen and spread all over the world. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, you have spiritual lineages that influence each other from neighboring countries, from neighboring tribal groups. Of course, that's why you see some similar practices, similar costumes, similar languages across the world. And of course, Central Asia is one of the cradles of civilization, if you want to go back 35,000 years or so, pre-Ice Age. Mm. There's evidence of shamanic practice going back at least 35,000 years in Central Asia. But it's not a religion that spread, as in the Abrahamic religions, which started with the prophets, who I would consider sages, and shamans. And then it became a belief system that was then spread through, in many cases, violence. Not always. Indonesia, for example, became Muslim through the merchants, through the Muslim traders. So that was not by conquest. But India was Muslimized by conquest, because the Mughals came over from West India, so the Persia and Pakistan area, and forced Islam into India. Of course, Hinduism is back on the rise. But anyway, this is not a religious class or talk. We're talking about what are the roots of shamanism. Well, Hinduism and Daoism are the legacy of shamanism in China and in India. It got codified or organized into a religious system. But originally, you can see the Hindu deities, they have a mount. So Vishnu rides Garuda. So this is something that shamans have always recognized, that we have guardian spirits, and they usually appear as animals. But that doesn't mean that the deity that rides the guardian spirit or goes with them is not from a transcendent world. Of course they are. So one great favor that Michael Harner has done us, and he is the progenitor or the organizer or the creator of what we call core shamanism, which is a distillation of common shamanic techniques from around the world, is that he has differentiated between ethnocentric spirits and transcendent spirits. So transcendent spirits are from the transcendent worlds. In other words, the heavens, you could say Garden of Eden, paradise, the places where everybody gets what they need. So they are from there. They have graduated from this level of greed and fear cycle that we live in the middle world. And so, however, middle world spirits are spirits, whether they have a body or don't have a body. We are spirits too. You are a spirit. I'm a spirit also. We have bodies, but there are spirits in the middle world that don't have bodies.
Disembodied.
Yes, and they can have their own personal agendas. So when we have never discovered an evil being, we have never found one. Not one that was created evil, born wrong, or anything like that. But they can be deeply deluded, deeply angry or vengeful or what have you, just as we are. So they are just the same as we are. So I have usually one day a week where I'm a little short-tempered. So then somebody might feel that, oh my God, I'm an evil being, that one day a week. But the other days a week, I'm usually rather compassionate.
Upbeat and light,
so we talk about all compassionate spirits are the ones from the transcendent realms. They don't stay here, but they can visit here. So we can call them angels, we can call them deities, Buddhas, gods, goddesses, the spirits of the saints and sages, enlightened beings. But then the middle world is full of ethnocentric spirits, and they have their own agenda. And sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes it's not. So ethnocentric means they may only be interested in helping their tribal descendants or their group's descendants, either their clan or their group or their linguistic group or their national group, what have you. So their compassion is limited. So that's why we call them ethnocentric. So now in a cultural shamanism or in an indigenous shamanic context, they may call upon both transcendent spirits, which we can call angels or all compassionate spirits, and ethnocentric spirits, which may only be interested in helping this group or these descendants. And in fact, they may even wish harm to other groups if they see that they are threatening their group, their descendants. So the problem is that after their bodies died, they stayed in the middle world. And there's various reasons why they may stay in the middle world. They may not know how to leave the middle world. They may not know how to go to the transcendent realms.
Or just attached to the...
Or they're very attached. That's right. So then they want to stay here to, taste alcohol, to smell
cigarettes,
smoke,
yeah.
to taste honey and ground peanuts,
Yeah.
what have you, or other things. They may have other reasons for staying in the middle world. So Michael Harner's done us a great favor in delineating or distinguishing between the transcendent spirits and the ethnocentric spirits. So in the courses that I teach, which are core shamanism, which was developed by Dr. Michael Harner, an anthropologist, who's a rare bird in the sense that he is an top-notch academic, Ivy League professor of anthropology, chairman of the Department of Anthropology in New York, taught at Berkeley, taught at Columbia, taught at Yale, and a fully initiated, practicing, and powerful shaman. He did transition. He passed away now 8 years ago at the age of 88 in 2018. Almost 89.
Oh, wow.
Almost made it to 89. Anyway, I was very fortunate to know him for over 20 years. I was living in Asia the entire time, but we were in contact. And I trained with him in my beginning training, and we remained in contact for many years.
Wonderful. Well, that's a wonderful story. It's a great introduction. What would you say, like, because I know when I'm talking about these things, I mean, I know what I know, and obviously you know more. But what would you say, what is the definition for you, with everything we said, of what is a shaman? Like, what would you say is the definition?
Well, I would agree with Dr. Harner, and he asked two questions to determine if someone is a shaman. And the reason he asked these questions is because there's so many different kinds of medicine women, medicine men, healers, psychics, energy balancers, chakra balancers, fortune tellers, diviners, dowsers, and the list goes on and on. So what distinguishes a shaman from all of these other wonderful healing arts? And that is, do they journey to other worlds in an altered state of consciousness? And the second question is, do they perform miracles? If it's yes to both those questions, then Michael considered them to be a shaman.
It's a good definition. What would be a definition of a miracle for you?
Well, if someone recovers from an illness, for example, that they are not expected to recover from, and does not appear to have any physical treatment, I would call that miraculous. Now, of course, sometimes our own immune systems
Kicks in.
can kick in, but if there is a spiritual issue, then one's immune system and spiritual immune system is often suppressed. So one of the most important things in shamanism is a term that we call power. And this is power in the most positive sense. So we're talking about spiritual vitality.
Vitality.
So we could call it prana, we could call it chi or ki. But it's spiritual vitality. And I think it's easy for even Western doctors to see if someone is vital, if someone has a life force.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel, it's easy to know, and so that life force is what is most important for practicing shamanism. Without that spiritual vitality, that power, the miracles are not going to happen. So shamans work with spirits in order to increase this spiritual vitality. So it's like you could say almost like a magnetic field. It's a power field. It's invisible, but I think it can be measured. And the greater the shaman, the greater their spiritual vitality. But they are very humble because they know that without the transcendent helping spirits, or without the helping spirits in general, that their power is insufficient. And so they are always seeking to connect to the angels, connect to the deities, connect to the gods, goddesses, to the Buddhas, to the super Buddhas, to the middle management Buddhists, in order to bring them to this world in order to do compassionate works here. So the shaman's compassion. And the shaman sacrifices a portion of their personal life in order to serve their larger community. So it's a rather...
In what way would you say that?
Time. Time, energy, power. Most shamans are married. They have families. They have children. They have grandchildren.
Other jobs?
They have a day job. They may be a farmer, a hunter, or a taxi driver. I don't know. I mean, it depends on their context, where they are. But they normally have day jobs because in indigenous communities, they don't have the luxury of being able to afford a priesthood, who are just going to be mostly sitting around praying and not really contributing directly to the community. So indigenous tribal groups, of course, were traditionally smaller. And so one person or two might have a natural talent for healing or for divination, sometimes both, or sometimes it's separate. And so people will go to that person when they have need. And that person, in some cases, can also become a chief or a leader, but often it's separated. There's a shaman and then a chief, but sometimes they are together. In fact, the old shaman kings of long ago in India and China, Persia as well, Central Asia as well, are quite famous, but they became divided after a period of time. So usually the chieftain became separate from the shaman.
Okay, okay. And what would you say, if any, this might just be, the way that I've seen things, when it comes to anything that has to do with energy healing or spirituality and so on, I kind of get the feeling there's always two layers, right? There's one that's I know, that's all nonsense, and there's the people that want to believe it. But it feels like today it's starting to overlap a little bit with science, right? It's not just that I have to believe it for it to be true, or I just say it's all woo-woo, it's all boo-foo, nonsense. I'm kind of getting the feeling it's something is happening and it's starting
I
to
think
become.
so too. In fact, science has done us a great favor, has done shamanism a great favor, because there was so much religious superstition that was suppressing the natural healing arts. I mean, in Europe, they burned to death tens of thousands of mostly women who were practicing natural healing arts, whether it was shamanism or herbal healing or something else. This is fear-based superstition, and the Renaissance came and science came and freed us from these superstitions. So no longer is the world being run by theocracies, theocratic governments, which has religion running the government and controlling everyone's minds. So shamanism again is based on results. So repeatable results. So on a regular basis, the clients are getting better, the divinations are accurate, so people continue to go to the shaman that has demonstrated that talent. So it has to do with efficacy, not with belief. So, I'm very happy when I have a client who doesn't believe in shamanism. I'm like, that's totally fine. You don't have to believe anything, because I'm going to do work with my spirits at a level, and if you get the results, then you're going to know the results. Now, what's interesting is it's so invisible and it's so painless that often they feel that nothing happened. But then a few weeks later, their disease disappears, and they even forget to call me and tell me. And I meet them sometime later, and I'll say, well, hey, how is your condition now? And they say, oh, a few weeks after we had the healing session, my illness disappeared.
Magically.
By itself. Isn't that amazing? And I said, well, but you had that for 10 years, and why didn't it disappear by itself magically prior to having the shamanic healing? Well, anyway, so there is some level of recognition. Now, a sensitive client, they'll be able to feel right away that
what's happening,
that there's
moving.
An effect on their life force.
Yeah.
So occasionally, sometimes we can get direct evidence through blood tests, through x-rays and things. So I've seen tumors disappear, bone abscesses disappear, sometimes immediately, sometimes weeks or months down the road. So we don't know why. It's rather mysterious sometimes. Some clients only get a little better, some get a lot better, some have miraculous healings, others don't. It's always mysterious, but it's the same with contemporary modern Western medicine. You go to the hospital, no one can guarantee 100%.
No.
They're just going to say, here are your symptoms, here's our diagnosis, here are the drugs, here's the radiation, here's the chemo. We'll hope for the best.
Probability. Yeah.
Yeah, and many people don't get better, of course. And eventually, we're all going to leave this world anyway. And so it is not anybody's job to hold a soul in their body no matter what. If it's time to go, it's okay. It's time to go. As Ram Dass once said, it's perfectly safe to die.
I mean, I guess that's an interesting concept too about healing. That people think it's only about healing the physical body, and if you haven't healed the physical body, then the healing hasn't had its effect, or it was a failed experiment or whatever. Because as I kind of got from what you're saying, it's more anecdotal evidence that you can really just reproduce them, but
it's reproducible, but the greatest athletes in the world, they don't get a score in every game.
No,
if you want to talk about the greatest football or soccer player, yeah, sure. Over an average, over a season, or over a 10 or 15-year career, yes, they're considered great. But do they get a goal in every match?
No.
Of course not. So you can also talk about great doctors. Maybe they invented new techniques. They came up with new diagnoses. They came up with new things. Does that mean every single one of their clients were cured? No, of course not.
No.
So we're human beings.
Yes.
So we can't expect to hold someone to this idea of water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at sea level always. And that's repeatable. And if it's not held to that standard, then it can't be real. So, well, anyway, shamans have known better for a long time. Now, what's interesting is that science more and more is coming to the conclusions that shamans have always known. And so in the past 50 years, there's been many studies of brainwave patterns, studies, of course, health and healing, near-death experiences. And all of this is confirming what shamans have known for thousands of years already. So the shamans are not really even that interested. However, it is nice that when science and spirituality is coming together, especially if we go into the realm of the very small or the very large. So we're talking about quantum mechanics, quantum physics, because Newtonian physics breaks down if we go very large into astrophysics or very small into molecular or atomic physics. So then, shamans have long been saying that we are living in a dream. And in quantum physics, they are coming to the same conclusion. The universe is made of things that they already know aren't real. So in Buddhism, they say this is all mind. This is all a wavering of consciousness. And so if you talk to any physicist, they can tell you that that matter is just a vibrating something.
Yes.
They're not even sure what it is.
Yeah.
So first of all, 100 years ago, they started saying all matter is condensed light. Well, that's what mystics have been saying for thousands of years. It's all condensed light. But then you get down to smaller and smaller and smaller, and finally there's just a wavering of something. Well, it's a wavering of consciousness. Now, interesting, though, that you bring up science, because I was in Dean Radin's lab at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and they had me hooked up with the EEG on my head, and they had me in a Faraday cage, and I was to remote view quanta being sent through two slits, so the famous double-slit exercise, right? Except this was in a sealed chamber.
Oh, because the Faraday cage, yeah.
Well, what I mean, within a sealed chamber within a Faraday cage.
Oh, wow, so it's even...
Yeah, so I cannot actually observe. So I was to clairvoyantly observe the quanta going through the double slit. And what he wanted to know was, everybody knows that if you observe, it behaves as a particle. If you don't observe, light behaves as a wave form.
Yes, I remember.
And that's repeatable over and over and over. Anybody can do this. But it brings up an interesting philosophical question. And that is, things only appear in particle form if we're observing them. Now, if you think of a dream, remember a dream, any dream you've had, what's right in front of you is clearly part of the dream. But on the edges of the dream is this wavering quantum foam. And in fact, if you watch a film or a TV show where they're trying to show a dream, they always blur the edges of the screen, because everybody knows what that feels like. Well, in a sense, that's what we're in. We are in a big dream. If we're not observing this, then it's just quantum wave potential. It's not until we actually observe it that it behaves as matter or particle form. And this is repeatable over and over and over. So interesting that the so-called materialists believe that they're being so scientific, when actually it just means they haven't gone deep enough into science to understand what we have found and discovered in science. So I was told to clairvoyantly observe the quanta, and it behaved as a particle.
Wow.
Which should not have been possible.
Because of the double sealed.
Because it's sealed. And so, and then when I did not clairvoyantly observe, there was a little light to tell me whether to observe and not to observe. It behaved as a wave when I did not observe. But observing clairvoyantly. Now, at a distance, it's the same. So if that target had been 10,000 miles away, it wouldn't have mattered. If I had the targeting of where it was, the address or the coordinates, it would have behaved as a particle when I observed it, and then when I stopped observing it, it would behave as a wave. And I was only one of 37 people in this experiment, and it was written up. And Dean Radin recently spoke at Harvard University for the first time they ever invited a so-called parapsychologist. He's a hard scientist. So that's a great breakthrough for Harvard to ask Dean Radin to come and speak.
Bring his findings on board.
Yes, it's finally coming around. So Dr. Harner, very interesting. He was in the Amazon in the late 50s and the early 60s. And he was doing his PhD dissertation research while living with the Shuar and the Konibo and Amazonian Native Americans. He was initiated in shamanism there and ended up going back several times. I forgot where this was leading.
No, that's okay.
Leading to something.
But he wasn't a believer when he went down, right?
He's not a believer now.
No, like he was more like, if I can prove it, if it works, it works.
Actually,
kinda.
I don't think he was even that interested in shamanism when he first went. He was a regular anthropologist, so he studied the language, he studied the culture, he studied the society. But there was one thing he didn't understand, and that was shamanism, until he was initiated into practicing it. So this is one of the mistakes, blind spots, so to speak, of anthropologists, is most of them don't practice shamanism. So they have no idea that it is actually
Universal.
A universal practice and effective. A few, if they live long enough with indigenous peoples, they will begin to see the results and know the magic is real. So that changed Dr. Harner. Then he started to focus on shamanism, and that became his specialty within anthropology. So in his later years, he was considered by many to be the world's leading authority on shamanism, precisely because he was a practitioner and an expert academic in anthropological shamanism. So I spoke at a conference in China. There were over 120 speakers, mostly academics. Very few of them practiced shamanism, maybe 2, maybe 3. A few Manchurian or Mongolian shamans spoke, but almost none of them asked whether the client got better or whether the divination was accurate. So they talked about, the shaman had feathers, 12 feathers in their head, and they did this on Thursdays, and this on Tuesdays, and this on the full moon, and this on the waning moon. And they recorded the songs and they did all this. And then I would ask, well, did the client get better? And they never asked whether the client got better. And then, okay, they did divination. Okay, they threw sheep ankle bones in a metal bowl and they sang this song and they gave the divination to the client. Well, how accurate was the divination? They never thought to ask. Well, that's the only reason you do shamanism, is because it works. It's not a belief system.
It's a practical.
Exactly. And so these anthropologists were just studying the superficial level. Now, okay, let's say you go to a quantum physics laboratory and you study the clothes they wear and the food they eat and the strange instruments that they manipulate on their table. But you never bother to ask, what is the invisible world that those physicists are working in?
What are you doing?
What are you actually doing?
Yeah.
You know, and what are the results? It's so absurd. It's actually, it's sad. It's pathetic to believe that they're doing shamanism by only showing the surface. So 99% of shamanism is invisible. Yes, it's important to document the cultural shamanisms, the tools, the clothes, the language, the songs. All that's wonderful that is documented. So I'm not suggesting we throw all that away. It's just that it's the surface.
It's not the real practice.
It's like studying quantum physics, physicists' sense of fashion. What clothes they wear, what lab coats they have on, what hairstyle they have, and not talking about the invisible world that they actually operate in.
Yeah.
It's just incredibly superficial. So, but things are changing.
They are.
Things are changing. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. I can tell. I can tell. Anyway, like the way that I started reading about shamanism, it was like, oh, you're chosen, the spirit has chosen you, or there's just a few people that can actually do it. Wasn't that one of the things that Harner was kind of not debunking, but maybe questioning or researching?
Well, he was under the similar assumptions because so many other anthropologists had reported that. Now, in the indigenous setting, because everybody has to be on board on the workforce to survive.
Yes.
So in those cases, the spirits would usually choose one person, or maybe two, to work through. And they had a shamanic inclination, they had a shamanic talent, sometimes ran in families, sometimes skipped generations. And so then the people would say, okay, this one was chosen by the spirits, they're going to become the shaman. And they would go through various processes, maybe shaman's illness, and maybe they would go to be initiated from another shaman in another village. It's hard to say, there's every possible variety of experience. But what they didn't realize is that we as human beings can all learn to practice shamanism. And this is something that Dr. Harner discovered all over the world, that indigenous peoples, even common persons, had some level of shamanic knowledge. And among the Shuar, 1/4 of the male population were shamans, which is a very high percentage of shamans. And so this rather debunks this idea that there can only be one chosen shaman in every group. Now, I liken it to music. Music to me is innately human. Doesn't matter where you go, how far you go into remote areas, what culture you go to, humans enjoy music. Humans make music. Do we all have to be the most talented? Do we all have to be a Beethoven or a Bach or a Miles Davis? Do we all have to be that? Of course not. So we have found through teaching our core shamanism that every person can learn to do shamanic journeying, can learn to journey into the transcendent worlds, can learn to perceive spiritual realities. Everyone. Now, in the same way that everyone can learn to play music to some degree. It doesn't matter how naturally talented you are or not. Everyone with a little bit of training can strum a guitar, can plink out a tune on a piano, or just enjoy music at home, or at least enjoy listening to music. It's innately human. In the same way, shamanism is innately human. So, if a person feels the suffering of the world, they can feel drawn to want to heal, to want to help. It doesn't necessarily have to be you're struck by lightning. There are some things called, persons called lightning shamans, and they are struck by lightning, and they survive, and they have a near-death experience, and if they have the power to recover from being struck by lightning, then they're considered to have spirit power. And so often survivors of lightning strikes become shamans. And this is even known in the modern world, that people will come out of a near-death experience or a lightning strike, and they will come out and they're able to perceive auras, they're able to perceive non-ordinary reality, able to perceive illnesses in people. They become psychics after being struck by lightning. Now, it doesn't always have to be like that. Just a desire to help others, to feel compassion, to want to help. Then you can learn shamanic techniques. So that's why at the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, I'm the director for Asia for the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. We teach what's called core shamanism, and that is a term that is really applies only to the shamanism that we're teaching here at the FSS, not other systems. It is the distillation of common shamanic techniques from around the world. So it is not a copy, it is a distillation. So we take the essence of shamanic practice from many, many different cultures. These belong to humanity. It doesn't belong to one tribe. Yes, their cosmology, their songs, their rituals, their ceremonies belong to that tribe. We do not take those. But the essence of operating in spiritual realities for healing and divination is very much the same worldwide. They may use different tools, they may have different names, they may wear different costumes, but they're all human beings operating in objective spiritual realities for healing and divination.
Same purpose, basically.
The same purpose, because we're all human beings. So there is a idea among some anthropologists that shamanism can only be practiced in an indigenous setting and none other. So no one else can ever practice shamanism. But this is absolutely absurd. Does Chinese medicine only work for Chinese people? Can Chinese medicine only be practiced by Chinese people, for Chinese people? Of course not. Chinese medicine is for human beings. That's why Chinese medicine works for all human beings. It's the same with Ayurvedic medicine from India. It applies to all human beings, not only Indians. The piano was invented in the West, or built in the West. Does that mean only Europeans can play piano? No. That's ridiculous. Okay, this is such a narrow-minded point of view. Cultural shamanism, we greatly respect cultural shamanisms. We don't want to interfere with cultural shamanisms. But to say that that is the only way is simply not true. Sometimes cultural shamans from different tribal groups, they agree on things, sometimes they don't agree on things. That's the middle world. We are in the middle world, and in shamanism, this is considered the middle world. And there's a lot of confusion here because we have a lot of blind spots.
A lot of drama.
And drama, greed, fear.
Yeah.
Here in the middle world, the dream of the middle world, you could call it.
You talked about the shadows a little bit before. You said that's where the essence really lies, so the potential.
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, a whole other topic. Yeah.
But basically, you have a lot of potential in you that you can use if you actually start to focus on helping others.
Well, what I was referring to, and it's a completely different system, but we have things we cannot see that are controlling us, pushing and pulling us around. So depending on the family we grew up in, the dynamics of our culture at the time period, what happened to us in our personal life, we can have things that are pushing and pulling us around, and we don't see them. So we say they are in shadow. It has nothing to do with evil or darkness. It's just we don't see them.
Unaware of it.
We're unaware of it. And so in terms of the initiation rite from child to adult, one of the most important things is to bring what they don't see, what they cannot, what they're not aware of, out in front of them. So it's called bringing the shadow in front of you. So our fears, our desires, our unfulfilled needs, and bringing them out in front of us. And so we're aware of them. So rather than controlling us from behind, but this is not
No, it's something
shamanism.
else.
This is really comes back though to something that is important and missing in today's world. It's not part of the program that I'm teaching, and that is rites of passage from childhood to adulthood. This is a huge problem, and it's the first thing that the major religions would usually try to do away with. Is if they can get everyone to remain a child, then they will be obedient to the priesthood. So this is the controlling factor of, unfortunately, the history of religions. And religions usually got together with a political leader and decided, hey, this is great. We'll have one religion, one political leader, and one group, and everybody can be on the same team, and they're more easily controlled. So this is an unfortunate thing. Now, in smaller tribal groups, because survival was so important, it was extremely important that the child became an adult.
Yeah.
Had to go through the rite of passage. So girl to woman and from boy to man. That was very, very important for the survival of the tribe. But when civilizations got larger and larger and larger, it wasn't that necessary anymore. And now we see an entire world that is probably 99% have not received initiation rites of passage from child to adult. And so what we're really seeing is the world is being run by a bunch of teenagers. And that's why we're in part of the disaster that we're in.
Yeah, you're unhealed and you're still operating from that place in your nervous system. And
Exactly.
would you say that doing a shamanic training is like a beginning of a rite of passage? I mean, I know there's other works to it, and that's not really what you do, but could that be like a step?
It can certainly be a stepping stone,
Yeah.
but the real rite of passage needs to be. But there are organizations for this.
Okay.
Mankind Project, Woman Within, there are others.
Okay. All right.
People have tried to revive
Yeah.
these initiation rites, but it's the problem is that if a child hasn't received the initiation into adulthood, they don't know that they haven't.
You don't know what you don't know exactly.
You don't know
the shadow
what you
again.
don't know,
Yeah.
and so they have no idea. And but it's quite well shown in the film Emerald Forest.
Emerald Forest. I haven't seen
John
that.
Borman, 1985. It's about Amazonian tribe. And a boy who's lost and raised by that Amazonian tribe.
Oh.
And he goes. It's shown in the rites that he has to. It's shown in the film that he goes through the shift from boy to man. And this is something that's totally missing. I mean, military makes use of it to some degree, but it's always obey orders, and it's not become a whole person. So it's just
Criminal organizations do it too, right? That's what people are drawn into.
Yep, people are drawn to initiation. In fact, basically, boys who don't get initiation will create wars to initiate themselves. And that's what we're seeing all over the world.
Yeah.
So this is very necessary, but not really part of today's talk.
I get it. Well, thank you for going down that segue a little bit. Because when we come back to the training, like what can people expect coming into the training? Let's say, I mean, I have no clue what this is.
Well,
Maybe I don't even.
Well, we have what's called the Way of the Shaman basic course, and this is where you learn to do shamanic journeying, which is the primary distinctive feature of the shaman, and what differentiates the shaman from other kinds of healers, other kinds of medicine women, medicine men, and psychics, remote viewers, what have you. And in that course, we get in touch with our helping spirits in the transcendent worlds. You can say angels, guardian spirits. The transcendent ones, the all-compassionate ones. So we're not interested in ethnocentric spirits, especially in the beginning. Later, we do work with nature spirits, which can be helpful to humankind if we enlist them and if we connect with them. If we work with them respectfully, then they will offer their help in many cases. Not all spirits of nature are interested in human beings,
I know.
but many are. And they can be enlisted. And so indigenous shamans have been doing this for, again, tens of thousands of years. So then we have what's called a healing series, here in Asia anyway, and that's where we learn to do shamanic healing. There's 3 courses, 3 two-day courses after the basic. And then there's another series called the Shamanic Knowledge series, which is about spirits of nature, shamanic dream work, and also advanced divination techniques. So,
And divination is basically asking for an answer to a topic, or what would
finding out any kind of information that is not available by conventional means. So in other words, it's perceiving outside of time and space. Yeah. Now, normally to assist your tribe or to assist a client. So it is a compassionate act. So if someone wants to get a bigger perspective, they can ask a diviner to check outside the box. So you can perceive outside the box. We often hear about think outside the box, which I think it's a misnomer. It should be perceive outside the box.
Perceive,
Because
I like
thinking
that one,
already is inside the
You're
box.
already stuck when you're in the
Thinking
I get it.
implies, rational, logical, analytical thinking, and that's always based on the past. Nothing wrong with that. So, a stock analyst bases what they analyze now and what they expect next week
Trends
is
and
based
metrics,
on the
yeah.
past.
Yeah.
But you see, shamanic divination is completely different. Shamanic divination comes into the present and then goes outside of time and space to get the information that is not available through your computer, your left brain, or through the 5 physical senses.
So there's a way of perceiving, basically, like you get
Yes.
the right information.
Well, it's perceiving from the soul. And this is what shamans are always concerned with, is keeping the soul in balance with the body. And if the soul and the body are out of balance, then all kinds of things go wrong. Not only health, but it all goes wrong in the tribe and in the larger tribe. So we're in trouble right now, folks. We've got all kinds of major problems going on all over the planet. And they're easily solved.
I hear you.
But
And
we just don't have the wisdom and the will to do it. So we're so run by greed and fear.
Yeah.
And there are people who want to increase the greed and fear because they feel they're benefiting from it.
Yeah.
But it's, the planet is one fishbowl. We're all in the fishbowl.
Whatever you do there will come back to you. Yeah.
Yes. So we are coming into a very interesting period of time where it's so obvious that how we treat others comes very directly back to us. Now, centuries ago, when there was a lower population, there was more space, forest, there was all get in your boat and go somewhere else. Well, we've covered the planet, taken over, completely. There's nowhere to go,
No.
but in or out, off planet.
True.
So, we're in one fishbowl. Everything we do affects everybody in the fishbowl. So I think most people are still run on this idea of, if I just get enough money, I'll buy an island, and, live separately from the rest of humanity. And
Guilty.
We all have. Oh my God, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. I'm going to go live on an island and get away from it. Well, how are 8 billion people going to live on an island?
It's not feasible. I get it.
Not anymore. And even if you did, okay, if you're a billionaire and you buy an island somewhere, well, then what? You're cut off from the rest of the world, and it's going to affect you anyway.
It's not right.
Eventually.
And you're here to help each other.
There's nowhere to run. Yeah, we're in it. We're in the soup.
We're in the soup together. I love that. And what to expect from the 3-year program, right? Like you run that one
the 3-year program, after taking several 4, 5, 6, 7 two-day courses, if someone feels that they really want to be transformed from a shamanic practitioner into an actually practicing shaman, we offer the opportunity to have 6 weeks of major initiations from shamanic traditions around the world, distilled. We don't do it exactly as indigenous tribes do, but we practice the essence of it, and we get the same results. And so you could say it's an upgrade. Several upgrades. In fact, 6 major upgrades in the 6 weeks and maybe several minor ones. And it's all based on classic indigenous shamanic initiations. It's not published. It's secret among the indigenous peoples as well. It is also secret among this, but it's not dangerous.
No.
We don't, it might be dangerous to your ego, but it's not physically dangerous. Indigenous shamans do, they actually do scarifications or drive people to the point of a near-death experience. Well, we're a nonprofit organization, legal status, so we don't go
We don't do
that far. But spiritually, yes, it is a transformative program. So we meet for 2 weeks every year in Bali, Indonesia, and for 3 years. And of course, you're expected to be practicing shamanic healing and divination in between.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the program is pretty manageable by even an average shamanic practitioner. But by the end of it, everybody's changed.
I can
It's very
imagine.
powerful.
So it's kind of is like a rite of passage on its own.
Oh, yes, definitely. It's just not designated from child to adult. It's not that particular rite of
You might still be a shot when you're done, you say.
I would say the rite of passage from child to adult is still needed, even after becoming a shaman, and maybe even more so, because many of us, and I think I'm speaking to some spiritually oriented people, we've developed our magician quality to a high degree without developing some of the other qualities that are necessary in becoming a whole human being.
Not so good here and now in 3D,
Yeah.
but I'm all good with all of these other
Well, exactly. For example, persons who can't function in ordinary reality. They can't hold a job, can't pay their bills, can't stay grounded. Oh, I've heard people say, oh, I'm so spiritual, I'm so shamanic, I can't deal with ordinary reality. Well, that is the opposite of shamanism. The great indigenous shamans that I have known in Mongolia, in Central Asia, in the Mayan world, in Central America, in Southeast Asia,
They're all
the great
grounded,
shamans, absolutely grounded and hyper-functional in ordinary reality, not dysfunctional. Now, during the training, yes, you go into retreat, so you don't have to be concerned with washing dishes and everything, and you can focus on spirituality. So any spiritual retreat is the same. You separate for a while. You can do intensive work. You don't have to worry about taxes and bills and the normal paying the rent and all of that stuff. So that is arranged in advance. So shamans need to be masters of 2 realities: ordinary reality and non-ordinary reality. But I would say even the average person can benefit by understanding more about non-ordinary reality. It's not necessary to even be concerned with becoming a professional shaman. Just learn how to do shamanic journeying, because then you know the way out of the middle world. And at the time, not if the time, but when the time comes to release your last breath, and the time will come for every one of us, then we know how to navigate non-ordinary reality. Because sooner or later, this monkey is going bye-bye. And, this is going to be worm food sooner or later.
True.
And so you may as well learn to navigate the spiritual realms before you're thrown into them. Now, you don't need to believe that. Shamans don't need to believe it. They live it. They navigate these spiritual realms on a regular basis. Now, to a person growing up in a materialistic modern society, that might sound like just imagination. Well, study quantum physics for a little while. Imagination, consciousness, physical matter, light, it's all connected. And so biologists have been asking the wrong question for a long time, where the mystics have always said the universe there's consciousness first, and then there's matter, which quantum physics has demonstrated over and over. There's consciousness first, then there's matter. Meaning, in other words, there's maybe a quantum wave potential here, which is, you could say, mind or consciousness. And then when we literally perceive what we want to perceive, and that becomes particle. So it becomes form. So it comes from unmanifest into manifest. So from thought, or from consciousness to thought, to light, and then light is condensed into matter. The mystics have always been talking about this for a long time. Shamans may not have used those terms, but they understood that. That's how they affect changes. That's how they perform miracles, is because they know that consciousness changes reality.
That's very true.
And this is not new news. This is Stone Age, not New Age. It's just, we're just remembering this.
Reading on the cave walls. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Rounding off a little bit, in terms of gifts and so on, I mean, what does it really mean to be gifted? Because I've looked at it and I've seen a lot of people talk about it, and you go to trainings and people are like, yeah, I think I'm gifted. Everyone has said this. What's really the point of someone looking for validation, and that you just a little bit ahead of everyone, like you just started earlier, you remember more? How can we really tell what is more the ego kind of, or trauma wanting to be confirmed and validated, and what's really, is there a difference even?
The power of a shaman will always be known in the results they get.
Back to results.
Yeah. So, if the clients are getting better, people are going to go see that person. So most shamans do not call themselves shamans.
True.
It's the community that calls them a shaman.
You're recognized.
After they have proven what they can do. And of course, most shamans will say, I don't heal, my spirits heal.
True.
I don't know, my spirits know. And that's part of the humility. And the greater the shaman, the humbler they are. And I've seen that over and over and over. The ones who have a lot of bluster and boasting, they're the ones who are most unsure of their relationship to the spirits. Because once you've experienced those miracles, once you've experienced knowing the spirits, and you've experienced the power that comes in that spiritual vitality, then you don't need to prove anything to anybody.
And you know it.
You know it, and the clients know it, and your reputation will spread. So we don't have to worry about, am I talented or not? What would you say is the percentage of human beings that are psychic?
I have no idea. Probably everyone, but
I would say 100%. 100% of all of us are psychic, because we are souls. We were souls before we came into this monkey, and we'll be souls when we go out of this monkey. We're connected to the consciousness of the universe. Shamans have always known that. So yes, we work with a hierarchy of spirits. You can say angels, archangels, seraphim. These kind of hierarchies have always been in esoteric orders. They don't talk about it at church on Sunday or at the mosque, but if you go into the mystic sects, if you go to the Sufis, if you go to the Christian mystics, if you go to the Taoist or Hindu mystics, there's always angels and archangels. And this is just a matter of spiritual vitality capacity. How much can they hold? How close are they to the universal consciousness? You can call it God, or as you like. We are all part of that. So how much can we allow that to come through? Now, some of us have been, walking this path for lifetimes, for centuries, for thousands of years, maybe in many different incarnational systems. So it's not useful to compare ourselves.
No, everyone's their own
journey. It's such a big picture. Most people are just looking at this one little narrow monkey life, and here's my 75 years as a monkey, and that's it. Well, I don't think so. This one chapter is a long book, and we've been working on many, many facets of things over long periods of time. And as one begins to awaken to spiritual realities, one begins to realize your own soul trajectory. So I'm not trying to promote a belief in reincarnation, but it becomes rather obvious after you go in and out of the matrix a few times that we come in for a period of time and we leave. So even most shamans will say, well, we come in to the middle world for a period of time with a physical body, and then we leave, and probably we come back, or we go into other schools. To say it's all done in one round as a monkey is a bit presumptuous.
Yeah, I don't believe that either.
So unlikely. Well, belief is not particularly helpful. I mean, I think I can believe anything. I mean, I can believe the world is flat. It doesn't make it flat. I would be more likely to say this is all a simulation than to believe the world is flat. But anyway, that's maybe a poor example. But having been off planet myself, yeah, it would appear to be a sphere, at least at this level. Yeah.
Well, we finally got the evidence.
Level, well, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. I mean, you only need to go in an airplane. You can see the arc.
Yeah.
If you get high enough. So.
I get it. I get what you're saying. So if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to learn this program, or I mean, you've written books as well, like how do we do that?
Yeah, well, www.shamanism-asia.com. And most of the courses right now are in Thailand, Bali. Also courses in Chinese in Taiwan. We have a 3-year program in Chinese in Bali as well, in Chinese in Mandarin.
Cool.
Probably start another. The current 3-year program in Chinese is already running, but we'll probably start another one next year or the following year.
Cool.
And the new English 3-year program is beginning May 10th. So exactly 90 days from today.
Oh, wow.
So soon.
Soon.
And it's almost full. Actually,
wow.
getting almost full.
Congratulations. How big are the
Thank
groups?
For the 3-year, 20 to 30 usually.
20 to 30.
Yeah, but the more the merrier, because there's more power.
More energy, of course, collective.
More power, more transformation.
Yeah.
And the greater the miracles.
Cool. Wonderful.
Simba, thank you for having me today.
Thank you. It was lovely having you.
Thank you.
And if you
Thanks
want to
for listening.
know more about what I do, you can go to Internal Alchemy with Simba, and I do some of this work, not as much as you do, of course. I'm learning more about it, coming into it, but I work a lot with the grounding, right? Like creating that medium for people to be able to go out there. So check out Instagram if you want to know more. And thank you very much for coming in.
You're most welcome.